Hello, everyone, and welcome to 10 Seconds to Air. I'm Alita Guillen. There is nothing like getting together with some friends and having a good old belly laugh, or watching a show and being all by yourself and just laughing out loud. Laughing is more than just a physical response to something funny. Laughter is an antidote for anxiety, stress, and other health issues. Studies show that people who have a sense of humor actually live longer. Laughter is also a way for us to communicate with each other. It breaks social barriers and builds connections with others, even when we don't speak the same language or have the same views. So, how do you know if you're laughing enough? And what about laughing more? Is there such a thing as a laughing practice? My guest today is an international best-selling author and a positive and well-being expert. Roz Ben Mosher has spent over 2 decades researching, writing, and teaching about the benefits of laughter. She is an adjunct lecturer in the School of Public Health and Psychology at La Trobe University in Australia, where she teaches positive psychology and the world's first laughter, resilience, and well-being short course for professionals. Roz Ben Mosher joins me now to get us laughing more. Hello there.
Hello. Lovely being here.
Thank you so much for joining me. I have to say, I really have no idea where this conversation is going to go, but I think I'm going to laugh, or I want to laugh. That's just, I'm feeling that. And there you are laughing already. I know it's early over there in Melbourne. Have you had a few laughs already? How does your day get started?
How does my day get started? Usually taking out our Labrador. So that's always a good way to start the day. So yes, or checking messages as well, which I don't do first thing, but I do get into, and generally I only check the messages that I know are going to put a smile on my face.
Well, how do you know that? How do I want to do
I'd
that?
only check like friends. Like I'd leave the ones that, oh, I'm not so sure about that. But if there's a message from someone that I've woken up to, it's like, oh, how exciting. I wonder what's going on with them.
Right. So you teach, you write, you do these interviews. What goes through your mind 10 seconds to air?
I get a sense of excitement at the possibility for connection.
Mhm.
And especially if it's a visual sort of medium, so whether I'm speaking to you or an audience, I'm really excited about the possibility of a shared smile or a
Mhm.
shared laugh, and even that sort of aha moment that you get, when you're talking, and it's like, you can sort of hear people's cogs in their brain
Yeah.
working. So yeah, it's really about that shared connection.
So how did we do so far? We're at the beginning, but how are we?
I think we've done pretty well, Alita. I think we can be pretty.
Okay.
You got
Okay.
a great smile. You got the
Okay.
laugh happening. I'd give you a
Okay.
10 out of 10.
All right. So far, so good. So we can keep going. Excellent.
We can keep
We
going.
can keep going. How did you get into this?
Well, it's not like I sort of woke up one day and thought, oh, I'm going to become a laughter therapist. It was actually, at one of those sort of forks in the road. I'd spent many years actually not particularly well with chronic fatigue syndrome. And I developed lots of food allergies and intolerances. And I'd sort of really started investigating food as medicine. So 20 something years ago, I actually was writing gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan recipes, and really researching that to help my own well-being. And I realized
Mhm.
how powerful it was. And I sent off a manuscript to a few publishers, to publish this recipe book. And this is back in the 2001.
Mhm.
And the response was from the publishers, there's just not that much market value in these type of recipe books. So
Mm.
Alita, bottom line is that we could have been speaking as me being the queen of gluten free, but that was not to be my destiny. So I thought, oh, that's a shame. What next? And I could have continued writing recipes, but I knew inherently that there was something more to well-being than just what we ate. And I decided I would go back to do some postgrad studies in well-being. And one of the courses that came up, they said, sure, we'd love to have you. However, you don't really have that much experience. Go get some experience in the field and then come back to us.
Mm.
And as luck would have it, there was a World Health Organization health promotion conference in Melbourne, and I volunteered as a rapporteur. And in between all of the marvelous sessions that I was like, oh my gosh, I found my place, there was a 30-minute laughter yoga session. And I thought, this I had to report on. So, of course, I went along with my notepad and pen. And I mean, what was I thinking? You can't write about laughter. You need to experience it. And that's what I did with these sort of 70 plus people in the room. And initially it was a bit awkward, simulated laughter exercises, deep breathing, clapping, ho, ho, ha, ha, ha. What the hell was going on?
Yes.
But what the hell was going on is that these incredible moments of connection, this incredible this health bounce that I got from the 30-minute laughter yoga session that I had not received in any of the years, going in and out of specialist offices. So I went back to study, knowing I'd do something with this laughter thing, wasn't quite sure what. And really quite early on into my studies in health promotion, there's a lot of talk about mental health. But really what people were talking about, the lecturers were talking about was stress and depression and anxiety. And I thought, hey, what about this laughter thing? That's a real expression of positive mental health.
Right.
I think it's time for me to go explore this. So I trained as a laughter yoga facilitator and began practicing on anyone and everything.
Okay,
And
I just have to slow you down there for a second because you've talked about it twice now, laughter and yoga. Can you explain what that is?
Sure, of course. So laughter yoga is a concept that came into being in the 1995. There was an Indian doctor called Dr. Madan Kataria, and he was a pretty stressed out medical practitioner, and he was researching about whether laughter, in fact, was the best medicine for one of the journals that he was editor of. And he found all of these papers about, laughter and all these wonderful health benefits. However, he's thinking, how can we actually translate that into the community? So he got together with a group of 5 friends in a park in Mumbai, and they stood around telling jokes. And they had the best time. They laughed and laughed, so much so they decided they would meet the next day. The group grew because, laughter is contagious, and it's like, hey, what's going on here? And they laughed more jokes. And Alicia, you can probably guess what might have happened as the days continued. So
Grew and grew.
Yeah, it grew and grew, but there was lots of these awkward pauses. It's sort of, that joke didn't go down so well. And, what one person finds funny, another person might find offensive, or it might just go right over their head. So, because humor is very subjective, right? So he was sort of thinking, whilst we're getting, quite a bit of laughter, there must be a better way of doing this. And there was a particular book that had made an impression on him. And it talked about this concept called acting as if you are happy in order to be happy.
Okay.
So he thought, I wonder if we can act out laughter in order to laugh and be happy. And his wife is a seasoned yogi. And she said, and laughter is essentially breath work, right? Laughter is joyful breath work. You can't laugh without breathing. So what if we, came up with some simulated laughter exercises together with some deep breathing? So that's the pranayamic yogic element, and clapping, which helps, generate the energy. So it's a ho, ho, ha, ha, ha. And he thought, well, I'll give it a go. So he went back to his friends in the park and he said, come up with something a bit radical. Let's give it a go. And so the first laugh that they actually tried was the Indian namaste. So hands, together and looking into each other's eyes. And it was just a gentle as they went around and greeted everyone. And then Dr. Katari would go, ho,
make me laugh.
Everyone would join in, and then they would do some nice deep breaths, and then they would go on to the next laugh that he'd come up with.
Right.
Now, this was in 1995, as I say, just with a handful or so of people. Today, it has become a worldwide phenomenon. There are around 10,000 laughter yoga clubs worldwide, online, in person, in community centers, in hospitals. And it's really taken the world by storm, because there's a tremendous potency in the ability to actually bring laughter to people's lives when it might be the last thing in the world that they feel like
Right.
doing. So, I've done some research in, people receiving dialysis. So that's, when people's kidneys have failed. I mean, these are really
Yeah.
depressing
Yeah.
walks. There's
And
nothing much to laugh about.
and you still find laughter in those moments. You're trying
Well,
to find
the
laughter in those
amazing
moments.
thing is about a laughter or a simulated laughter practices is that your body cannot think. Okay, your body can only feel. So even if it starts off as what the hell is going on, I'm really not in the mood for laughing. Someone
Mhm.
laughs, it's contagious, and it stimulates a dose of positive well-being. It taps
Mm.
into our dose of happy hormones. So when I say dose, that's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins.
Wow.
So we can't even sort of think what's going on. It's like our brain's just sort of thinking, hey, this is just fantastic. This is just amazing.
So
And
so you I'm going to slow you down just for a second because there are a lot of things that I have questions on, and before you go too far ahead, I want to make sure I go back. I just want to go back to the yoga practice with laughter. And it
sure.
starts off in the namaste, and
Yes.
then does it eventually go into a full yoga class? Do you have a
No.
one? Oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
it's a bit confusing. It's interesting, actually, when I run laughter yoga sessions in aged care, there's a bit of a, oh my gosh, are we going to have to get into
Right.
leotards? We don't. We don't have to get into the
Okay.
Lululemon leotards. Um, it is the
But that might be a
yogic.
good laugh.
It can, the downward dog. Ha ha
Yeah. Yeah.
ha. It can incorporate laughter into yoga. It's not traditional. The yogic aspect is the fact that when we laugh, we're very much in the present moment of joy.
Hmm.
So it's like in meditation, in yoga, it's about coming back into that present moment, just that sort of anchor, and it's very much that laughter, and the breath work is what is that sort of that pranayamic, that sort of yogic aspect. So it's that coming back to that all the time, and definitely with the breathing, and it's nice deep breathing. It's not just sort of regular breathing that we've been just doing in the last sort of 10 minutes. It's really sort of sucking in that sort of nice deep breath in, and then out, and then once more in, and then out. So then you can do the next laugh, so you've refueled.
Ah, okay. So, and then you talked about just now, I'm going to going back, asking the questions from what you had just talked about, which was then you go in and you were doing elder care or laughter in some of these situations where people may not be in a laughing state of mind or be in a laughing state of their life. How do you bring that in?
It's a great question, and it's something that I really had to practice myself. So I'd been actually for many years, probably for about 4 years, I'd been getting very good at preaching about laughter
Mm.
being the best medicine, going into aged care, going into cancer care, going into dialysis. And then out of the blue, I got a colorectal cancer diagnosis.
Oh,
And there's nothing funny about a cancer diagnosis. And then after the bowel resection that I had, this, serious abdominal surgery, I physically could not laugh for for several weeks. So I didn't feel like laughing, and then I physically couldn't laugh. So this thing that I'd taken for granted my whole life, laughter, was taken away from me temporarily. And that's really when I got the opportunity to explore, okay, it's great to go into a group of people who feel like laughing, and it feels very true and authentic to themselves to laugh about life. But how do you actually get this laughter feeling for people when it could be, taken away from them, from, a cancer diagnosis or real health
right.
adversity or
Yeah.
real life stress? So that's actually when I actually expanded this notion of laughter just being ha 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 laughter into different forms of tapping into that energy, such as reframing a challenging situation, for example, through the lens of levity, finding the humor. Even if you can't find the humor now, even, thinking about it in the future, do you think there might be something I might be able to laugh about this in the future? And that changes the way the brain is responding to that trauma or to that challenge.
So when you have a
So
diagnosis or some bad news, or you're not able to physically laugh, you're saying, put yourself someplace else. Don't be in the moment. Think of something in the future or in the past.
it can be.
Okay.
If you're struggling in the moment,
Okay.
you can take yourself into the future, or you can even take yourself into the past and think about a time that you might have been going through a challenging, time. But then you think about the moments of laughter or love or joy that was shared, so much so that it puts a smile on your face.
Mhm.
And, when you have a smile on your face, that is a gateway to positive emotion. It can be a gateway to laughter. However, smiling in and of its own, right, is very much, a symbol of positive well-being. So there are many things that we can actually consciously call into, to give us these sort of micro moments of joy, micro moments of levity or laughter in our day. And that's especially important if people are going through a challenging time. So say, for example, someone's, lost their job. You're not just sort of going to suggest to them, just laugh about it. It's like,
Right.
yeah, right. That's going to feel very toxic and insincere. However, if working with someone like that and you say, that's a really challenging thing that you are dealing with. But, are there any moments of gratitude that you can sort of pick out from your day that you can, just bring into your awareness? So it can even be something like, turning on the shower and hot water coming out and being grateful for that. Or having, the opportunity to have just a bit of downtime to perhaps consider what's next. That's a
Mhm.
luxury, to be able to have that. Or, it might be, having a lovely conversation just with a friend, just being able to talk to someone and feel that you are heard. Those are the sorts of micro moments of levity, of joy, of gratitude, that the more we have those in our day, necessarily the less stressful ones we have. So no matter what we are going through, that is a really important practice.
To start that, to it's almost a gateway to get
It is.
into
It's a
laughter.
gateway.
It's
It's
a
a
gateway.
gateway, and it's about setting the intention. It's, as I say, you might want to experience a bit more humor in your day. So, how can you get a micro moment of humor in your day? Well, it might just be, searching for a funny meme or turning on a, lighthearted podcast or a
Mhm,
comedy,
mhm.
or calling a friend just to sort of, even just to laugh with a friend, just to have that sort of
Right.
go-to laughter buddy friend that you can get sort of that dose of joy.
So those all sound like external things to get you to laugh. Is there anything that you can do internally that maybe you don't have a device to help you with a meme, or you don't have a friend
Mm.
to tap into to help you out with some laughter? What can you do on your own to bring that to yourself?
Great question, and it's a really important question. And I think it actually starts from the first moment we open our eyes. And it's like, do we open our eyes and just sort of get out of bed, gruff and with
So
a bit of a
sometimes,
grimace?
sometimes that
Yeah,
happens, Roz.
yeah. Or do you say, "Hey, I don't know what's going to be today, and today what yesterday wasn't that flash, but just actually placing a heartfelt smile on your face. It actually
Sometimes.
sends a signal to your, to brain. It's like, hey, sense of ease, sense of well-being. And then that smile that you have placed on your face, that's been an internally generated one, you're more likely to share that with your partner, your child, or whoever you next come, into contact with, than the grimace. So we can actually start to share the ripple effect of a smile. Now, you're asking about laughter, and I think that's a really important question because there is a certain vulnerability to laughing out loud. Children don't
Ah,
think about laughter, right? It's like
right.
everything's
Yeah,
funny. But with adults, we get conditioned. Is it appropriate for us to laugh now? What
sure.
will people think of us? I'm in a serious job now. I can't be looking like I'm having too much fun. However, we need to ensure that we do timetable moments of laughter. And there are some days we need that more than others.
What does that mean? Timetable. What does that mean?
Well, I'll give you an example. So it's not leaving it to chance. It's too important. So, say, for example, we are driving to a meeting and we're running a little bit late and there's another damn traffic light and it's red. Arrgh. So rather than sort of, really sort of start swearing at the traffic lights, reframe these traffic light moments as opportunities to breathe more deeply, to smile, and
Mhm.
even to laugh. And the amazing thing about laughter is that it doesn't take much to actually change our physiology. So we can just intentionally choose to laugh while that traffic light is red, just for a few
It is
seconds.
contagious because every time you laugh, I feel like I need to laugh and there's no reason. But
It
okay,
absolutely is.
ignore
But
me.
the wonderful thing is that because it is a vulnerability trigger, if you are laughing in your car, the
Mhm.
person who walks past, the person who's sat in the car next to you, is just going to assume you're laughing with a friend. So there's no shame involved in this laughter. It's a great way to actually just laugh for laughter's sake. And as I say, just a few seconds, these traffic light moments of laughter or smiling or deep breathing, they help reduce the stress. They help sort of put a lid on those stress hormones. And it can be, if people have got a regular, meditation or mindfulness practice, I always start, and this is something that I've done ever since I had those surgeries, those about 10 years ago now, was to start any meditation practice with a smile
Mm,
and then start the breathing, to be very intentional about smiling outside of the home,
yeah.
walking down the street and sharing a smile, or in your office building choosing a new person a day to smile to. So, whatever we practice, we get good at. And that's because we're actually changing those neural pathways. We're strengthening those neural pathways to sort of think, hey, traffic light, opportunity to
Laugh,
breathe,
breathe, laugh.
to smile, to laugh. We've just frozen. Um, and, and again, waking up in the morning and smiling to your loved one rather than just,
Right,
where's my coffee?
right,
So
right.
these little acts that, they might sort of seemingly seem small, but they are, they're very significant, and they change the way that, we act in
So,
time.
what is actually happening inside our body? First, I want to ask you about what's happening with me, and then I want to ask what's happening with you. But
Sure.
what's actually happening inside my body when I do practice that little bit of smile, laugh out loud for the red traffic light? What's happening?
So, there's lots of literature about what's happening when we're stressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Adrenaline, cortisol. So when we smile, when we laugh, we're actually tapping into those happy hormones that I mentioned earlier, that dopamine, oxytocin, which is, the molecule of love, serotonin, which is our body's natural antidepressant, and endorphins, which are our body's pain management central. They're our body's
Mm-hmm.
morphine. And
Right.
dopamine is that sort of hit. It's like, someone smiled back at me. So we've got that sort of happening in terms of our neurotransmitters and our hormones of well-being. What also happens is that, and this is why FaceTime, real FaceTime really helps, is that we've got these really special brain cells called mirror neurons. So when I'm smiling, my mirror neurons are, firing and wiring. When I smile at you, that signals your mirror neurons to fire and wire. And soon we have this exchange of mirror neurons firing and wiring. So that explains why yawning is contagious, but
Mm.
smiling is contagious, crying is contagious, laughter is contagious. We need to see laughter, we need to hear laughter. And laughter is it's an aerobic exercise. It's joyful breath work. The more we laugh, the more we breathe. And we know the benefits of aerobic exercise. So we initially get that sort of bit of a peak in blood pressure, and then it drops right down. So we're really stimulating that sort of down regulating, turning down the stress. When we really laugh, we get a good facial workout.
Yeah.
Our abs get a workout, and it
Fantastic.
stimulates our immune system. So we have a lymphatic pump, and it's a manual pump. So laughter is one of the things that gets that lymphatic system, moving.
Mhm.
So,
Wow.
and then there's one of the things, when I was researching my book, one of the studies that really blew me away was that laughter in the brain is very similar to meditation. So when people, meditate, gamma waves are released in both hemispheres of the brain. These are very healing waves. And they've found that when people laugh, gamma healing waves are also released in both hemispheres of the brain, which also helps explain why when we are laughing, we are very much anchored into that present moment of laughter and whatever that means to you. We're not thinking about what just happened. We're not worrying about what might happen.
Mhm.
We
We're
cannot
present.
occupy negative and positive mindset at the same time. And when we are laughing, even if it starts as a simulated laugh, like choosing to laugh for the health of it, for the joy of it,
Yes, I love it.
we are stimulating that, present moment of joy, laughter, gamma healing ways. So there's a lot going on in our physiology when we laugh. And then there's the psychology of it as well. It's like, if you meet a stranger, they're not a stranger anymore if you share a smile or share a laugh.
Yeah, you have a
It's a real
connection with them.
gateway to connection.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. I mean,
Exactly.
you're communicating on a whole nother level by sharing a laughter with someone, sharing a smile with someone. Here at Trader Joe's, people who are not from California often laugh when they get to Trader Joe's because the people who work there are very known to engage in conversation with you about what you're buying. They laugh about it, they smile. And people who are not accustomed to that when you first get to California say, why do they care about the ice cream that I'm buying? But they smile and they have a little chuckle with you. And now that I've been here for a long time, it's really pleasant to go in and share that no matter what your day is, however your day is going, you know that you're going to get a smile from that person. And it's almost, it gives you an uplift. I mean, it does completely make sense. So you talked a lot about what it does to you, but what it does to the other person is also
Correct.
invaluable. You're really doing a favor to the people that you're interacting with. You don't know what's happening in their day. You don't know where they are in their life. And that bit of a smile or that laughter, you say, really is contagious. So it's a gift that you can give other people, it sounds like.
It absolutely is. And I love how you've just given that example of Trader Joe's. And next time I'm in LA, I'm going to have
Uh-huh.
to go and check it out. But what you also mentioned is that that they tend to have a conversation. They tend to engage with people. And that was another one of my aha moments that I had when I was researching, even further into this world of laughter, this idea of the punctuation effect of laughter, the conversational, impact of laughter. So 80% of laughter in conversations is not generated through jokes. It's actually generated through just regular humdrum statements such as, geez, it was fun catching up.
Oh,
Can't wait
interesting.
to see you
Okay.
again. So what people are doing in Trader Joe's is that they are actually tapping into this idea of this conversational or this punctuation effect of laughter, which tends to happen at the beginning and the end of sentences. And it really helps lubricate this connection
Yeah.
and conversations. So that's another thing that I really advocate. If people are, more serious types and they're sort of a bit more hesitant, they don't want to give laughter yoga a go. They can't
Right.
quite think
Right.
about, which comedian they want to, listen to or watch. Go and have just a conversation with someone, and you would be amazed at how much incidental laughter is drip fed throughout these conversations. And it might not be as intense as, that, but it's, you're still, tapping into that dose of laughter. So conversations are really important, which is why texting, LOL is just never going to be able to compete
Right.
with the real deal of, actually, human connection.
Are there different types of laughter or different quality of laughter?
Mm.
And are there certain ones you should be seeking?
The ones that you should be seeking are the ones that, the bonding ones, the ones that really connect you to others, as opposed to the sarcastic ones, the laughter that sort of puts people down, the more divisive
Oh,
laughs.
good point.
And even, people often ask me, is it okay if you have a nervous laugh? Well, it's your body's way of trying to regulate. So, it plays a role. However, this idea of this self-enhancing laughter, so laughter that enhances yourself and others, is the one that we should aim for. So that really unifying laughter.
Ah,
Um,
interesting. Okay. Yeah.
mm.
Are there people that just can't get there? Do you ever come across people who just can't get there?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been in this industry, for a couple of decades, and genuinely, there's only been a couple of people, and after, for example, a laughter yoga session that I facilitated with them, they've actually come up to me afterwards and said, "Listen, it's something that I'm really struggling with," and
Hmm.
generally there is a backstory, and that's sort of like almost like just the inability to, let your hair down, metaphorically. However, when you take out the humor, it's actually easier to get to these sorts of serious humor doomer types than, trying to sort of share a joke, because it's, um, there is something that I have definitely experienced is that when I do facilitate a session for a new group, especially if they are, more serious types like lawyers or something, you really have to try.
Lawyers don't laugh too much. Is that what you're saying? The lawyers don't really laugh.
Well, initially
You're
it sort of
calling
can
them
be
all
this
out right now.
idea of laughing for no reason is just like, because there's the rational brain saying, hold on a
Right.
second, what's going on here? Um, but uh, r- but the amazing thing is when you actually give the, explained, your body cannot think, your body can only feel, and just be open to it. We don't want to force anyone to laugh, but when you just choose to just be open to this, new idea of laughing for the sake of laughter, it's flipping the card, isn't it? It's sort of
Right.
not waiting to feel happy to laugh. It's laughing in order to feel happy. And it works. So even if, there are people who have, initial resistance to laughing when something is funny.
Let's go back to the lawyers. So when you bring this to the lawyers,
Sure.
your lawyer group.
So yeah, so it's that rational mind thinking, this doesn't feel right. And, that's true. It doesn't feel right to just laugh for laughter's sake. Like,
Mhm.
what? You want me to just, there's nothing funny happening here. However, it's about, explaining more broadly what's going on in the body and dropping that resistance as much as possible, choosing to laugh for the joy of it, for the health of it, for the
Mhm.
connection of it. And knowing that, reminding everybody that the body cannot think. The body can only feel. And when it's feeling laughter, it's still tapping into all of those health benefits
Mhm.
that, would be happening if I was the funniest comedian in the world,
Are you a
which
funny
sadly I'm
person?
not.
Yeah. Are you a funny person? Do you tell jokes?
I think I am. My family begs to differ. I'm really good at mum jokes.
Right. So, what happens when you have a bad day?
Oh, what happens when I have a bad day? Well, again, it's sort of, we all have a choice. Do we succumb to sort of that victim, woe is me, I've had a bad day. I'm just going to think about everything that's gone wrong in my in my day, the thing that someone said to me, and go down that rabbit hole? Or do I put a little bit of a, hold on a second, you're going down that rabbit hole. How about thinking about, what I'm grateful for, or just thinking, okay, I actually think I need to just breathe and smile. I
Mm,
just know that that's going to change the way I feel. Or I don't really feel like going for a walk, but I'm going to go for a walk, and I know that I'm going to pass people, and I'm going to, engage with them in some way or another.
mhm.
So it's really every day, every moment we actually have a choice, how we respond. Do we just sort of be passive, not really do anything, intentional to change the way that we feel and to change our physiology? Or and sometimes it can be things, if I'm going through a challenging time, it actually can be picking up a pen and thinking, okay, how can I reframe this particular challenge through the lens of a positive emotion? And there are lots of positive
Okay.
emotions to be, that you can choose of. So how can I reframe this through the lens of awe? Or how can I reframe this through the lens of humor? How can I reframe this through the lens of gratitude? And as I said earlier, if you're struggling to find something in the present moment, go a little bit further in your, future mind to sort of imagine what might you be able to be grateful for, or what moment of awe might present itself. And your brain cannot differentiate between what is happening now and what it's imagining is happening. So
Mhm.
it's a really important strategy, essentially tapping into your own endorphin, the things that, give you that sort of warm, fuzzy feeling that make you feel good inside, connecting to those. If you're an, person, say for example, you have grandchildren, thinking about your catching up with your grandchildren, or thinking about, a holiday that you really would love, or that you may have had in the past,
Mhm.
with a loved one. And that takes your mind back exactly to that time. Unfortunately, the same applies if you continue going back to, that stress, that awful
Right.
encounter that you
Right.
had. That's where your brain's taking
Yeah.
you. That's saying, hey, let's go and release those stress hormones. Once again, it seems real to me. So we're
Mm.
actually hacking the system. We're
Right.
choosing intentionally to tap into our endorphins, to tap into our
I
serotonin,
love it.
through the things we're grateful for. And it doesn't take much. It's these micro moments. It's not, and especially if we have had a really challenging day, we're less likely to be thinking, or, challenging phase of life. We're not going to be thinking about the overseas trips or the huge birthday celebrations. We have to bring it back to basics.
Right.
But that doesn't matter. It's still changing, tapping into that source of goodness, that source of positivity, and changing our physiology in a very real way.
I just want you to finish your story that you started when you were diagnosed with your cancer. You said that you had a lot of trouble laughing because you just physically couldn't do it.
Correct.
How did you get through that?
Well, I can't exactly say it was a walk in the park.
Which is
However,
good
it
for
was.
us to know, because it
Yeah, no,
makes you
listen, I'm
human,
not.
it's like,
I am. It's not like, hey, yeah, it was fine, and yeah, I just smiled and laughed about it, and everyone can do that. Far from it. It
mm,
was definitely the most challenging thing that I've ever had to deal with. However, that was really the beginning of my exploration into this idea of the laughter effect. So, because I physically could not laugh for several
mhm,
weeks, because I didn't feel like laughing, I actually had to ban some of my friends who I knew would make me
Oh,
laugh from
no.
visiting me from several times.
Oh,
But what actually happened was day 8 after this full bowel resection, and I actually had a temporary ileostomy, which is a bag, essentially, excuse me, you wear on the outside of your stomach, which processes your crap for several months to enable the rest of my body to heal. I was meant to be discharged on day 8. And the night before, I'd actually had a really harrowing night, and I was really scared, and I was in a lot of pain. And I'd already sort of like used my morphine quota, and, I was sort of harassing the nurse. It's like, please, and she said, listen, you just need to just wait another few hours. You're fine. I know you don't feel that you're fine, but you are fine.
oh, wow.
And I just knew that my boys, who were aged then they were 12 and 15, were going to be coming to visit me, and they were under the impression that they were going to be taking me back home. And gratefully, I'm not accustomed to dark moods. However, I was feeling really very, very low. And one of the staff came in with the breakfast tray. And in the olden days, 10 or so years ago, they used to leave a pencil to write down what you would like for your next meal. Not iPads
Right.
weren't a thing then.
Mm-hmm.
And I said as politely as I could, please, I just don't want breakfast. Can you just take it away? I'm not hungry. And the lovely lady said, listen, I'll just leave it here just in case you change your mind. And I said, okay, whatever. And off she went. And I'm just staring at this tray of food and with no appetite for it. But what I did have an appetite for was there was a placemat underneath the food, a paper placemat with a pencil. And I thought, I have to do something to change the way I'm feeling. I know that my kids, Josh and Zach, they're coming in the next hour. If they see me like this, it's going to freak them out.
Yeah.
So in a very narrow margin to the right, I fast-tracked the whole thing. I thought, I'm just going to need just the far right column. I started to map out things that I was grateful for about having had this operation. So, relatively big letters. I'm grateful for, having the operation in a world-class hospital. I'm grateful for my loving friends and family, for the amazing staff, for my body's miraculous capacity to heal. And before I knew it, I was mapping out another column, and I kept on writing everything that I was grateful for. And it was literally this outpouring of just so many things, so much so that I actually then mapped out another column, and my writing got smaller and smaller and smaller. So it was like, when we used to write postcards, to our parents if we were
Right.
away, and you'd
Right.
write in
Right.
big letters, dear mum and dad, and by the end it's like lots of love.
Right.
That's
You're run
how
out of
this
space.
big writing, tiny writing. And what struck me when I got to the end of the page was I was actually sitting up quite tall, and I'd been slouched and really in pain. And I realized I was smiling. I was actually beaming, to be honest, like from like, the toes to my head. It felt like I was like this whole, embodied smile. So much so that when the nurse did finally come in to re-administer my morphine, she boomeranged right out of the room because she just assumed she'd gone into the wrong person's
Oh,
room,
wow.
because here was I sitting serenely with a smile, and this was
Right.
not the woman she'd seen a couple of hours prior. So what I actually had done in that process was I had activated my endorphins. Now, endorphins are 30 times more potent than the synthetic version morphine. So literally I had bought myself pain-free time. And this was a real sort of gateway into this idea that with practice and intention, we can transform the most challenging moments by, as I say, really pausing and absorbing into this. Gratitude was sort of the gateway for me. And then once I left hospital and still couldn't laugh, I would do a dedicated smiling meditation. So the
Mm,
smile, would start, in my on my face. I'd move it to my heart space, and then I'd allow this sort of energy of the smile to encircle my gut or any areas of pain. And again, I just found that I would just rein in this calm, this sort of pain-free time. And a third thing that I did really intentionally was, when you're going through a challenging time, if you are living in a family unit or with friends, it doesn't just affect yourself, it affects
right.
everyone.
Everybody.
And I was really conscious of the fact, especially my younger son was really struggling with this idea of, that obviously I'd been, in a lot of pain and I'd been through a lot. Was we started, a few weeks after my operation to have comedy evenings, and each, we'd get each kid to choose a comedy a different night, and my husband would choose a comedy one night, I would choose a comedy, and slowly but surely we would introduce laughing as a family unit together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so healing. It was like in those moments there was normalcy, there was joy.
Roz, I have to ask you if this is so potent, as an antidote for what you were going through and for healing. Why is it that when we go to the doctor, we don't get this, we get pills or more morphine but no one's really talking about what you're talking about? Or is it spreading now? Do you feel like the word is out, or are there not
Firstly, I
enough
have to
studies for this, or why
There
is it that we're not?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh no, there absolutely are studies. The actual field of humor and laughter research is called gelotology. It comes from the Greek word yelos, and there has been a range of studies. Initially, they were humor-based studies, and now there's even a broader range of studies using non-humor-based intentional practices like laughter yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And firstly, I have to caution listeners. I am not saying if you have got a particular diagnosis, give up the pills and
Mm-hmm.
laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I strongly believe that laughter can be like an ancillary thing that we do that will help whatever it is that you are doing. So because it helps decrease our stress load. When we heal better when there is less stress, when we're, got less of a stress load. So if smiling and laughter can just sort of decrease that and make you, more attuned to, being able to respond to whatever treatment you are on, that is a positive thing. However, there are research studies suggesting, especially for anxiety and depression, that intentional laughter was actually had a stronger result than waiting for, subjective humor to
Mm-hmm.
kick in terms of decreasing anxiety and depression. So there have been studies that have shown that, laughter yoga, as well as comedy, it does help decrease that low mood and anxiety. However, it's not like, one laugh and you're cured.
Right.
It needs to be, we need to be very mindful that it's research has sort of shown that you really need about 15 minutes of laughter in your day to sort of maintain sort of, that equilibrium.
Did you say
And
50 or 15?
1 5.
Oh, 15
50,
minutes.
my God, we'd be just like, oh my God,
15
it'd be,
minutes.
it'd be exhausting. And now the heartening news is that this can be in one exhaustive go, because
Yeah.
15 minutes of solid laughter is exhausting. It's, 10 minutes of laughter is about, 20 minutes on a rowing machine. It's a lot of laughter. So, we just, it's easier to dose when you're using sort of this intentional laughter, because say for example, if you're doing a namaste laughter, laughing with other people, you're going to be getting laughter happening during that time, as opposed to popping on a Robin Williams comedy. And I know I would be laughing all the time, but it might not be everybody's brand of humor, so we don't know how much laughter. But what we do know from the studies and the research is that laughter does stimulate the endorphin response. It does stimulate serotonin. It does reduce cortisol in, staggering, amounts, they've done, through saliva testing. So I think it's interesting in Australia and in other parts of the world. I'm not sure about the US, but there is a social prescription that doctors are, are starting to take, more, to advocate for more. And as part of a social prescription, many doctors are actually including laughter yoga or, comedy or something as part of, a broader community health setting, like, for example, joining a cooking group.
Right. Wow, that's
So
great. That's
it is
fantastic.
great. It's really great. And yeah, I think that it's a really big question that you have, because I know, and it's not just me, but through the research, that there is just so much potential with these practices. However, it does require repetition. It does require dedication, and it's and this is when it's the trickiest, is that most people see a doctor when things are not going well. Therefore, it's not associated with a, hey, let's go and, go for a laugh.
Well, hopefully with these conversations, when people are listening to these podcasts, they understand that there are things that maybe just on a daily basis can make them feel a little bit better and really help for their immune system and for their own health. So I do want to get some really hardcore actionable tips to leave people with. If you want more laughter in your life, let's pick a few things that you can leave people with that they can start to do today.
Okay, so this is a bit controversial. Turn down the news, have a news-free day, turn up the comedy.
Why is that controversial? It doesn't sound controversial at all. It sounds quite healthy.
Some people think it is. It's like, oh my God, the world might end if I don't tap in and hear how, dire things are. So, cheer scroll. I love this idea of cheer scrolling rather than doom scrolling. Find things on social media, or in the news that actually, put a smile on your face, that give you hope, that in the world. Traffic light moments, really reframe traffic light moments. And if you live in the country and there are no traffic light moments, find something else. Find a roundabout moment, or just find something, before you step into the shower, or even in the shower, just laugh, give just a few seconds of laughter. It changes physiology. I challenge people to have an active smiling practice, to choose someone new every day that you will smile with. And that ripple effect of smiling. And what that initially does is, you think it's just sort of changing, the way you feel, but it's that it just keeps on rippling.
Oh, I get it.
And the more you practice these things, the more it just becomes second nature, or first nature, really, because our first nature is really to be joyous. And, just any sort of micro moments that sort of, activate this positivity, just looking out, and admiring a blue sky day. In Melbourne, it's autumn, fall, and the leaves, appreciate the beautiful leaves, or appreciate a heartfelt conversation. And don't leave this to chance. Don't leave these happenings to chance. It's just too important. Really, seize these opportunities. If, for example, there are so many benefits of technology. If you know that there is a person on the other side of the world that is going to make you smile, FaceTime them. Don't leave, even just call someone or send a text message to someone and say, hey, I'm really grateful to have you in my life. And just observe what that does when you actually thinking about that and sensing the pleasure that they might get in receiving that. These are all practical things that we can do that really turbocharge our days with joy,
Yeah, I
with
love it.
positivity.
I
Mm.
love it. Thank you so much. Thank you for your work. Anything I didn't ask you uh, that you want to just mention before we say goodbye? We got a lot
Anything?
in.
We did get a lot in. We
We
did get a
did.
lot in. Um,
We can just have you back.
oh, that'd be fun. I'd
That
love
would
to
be
do
fun.
that.
Okay, let's do that. We'll put a pin in it. Until the next time. Roz Ben Mosher, thank you so much. I'll have a link to your website in the show notes so that people can reach out and follow all the great work that you do. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you, Alita. It's been a joy.